Greetings, my good bitches. The name's Francis, QueenCokeFrancis. I'm an editor, Twitch streamer, drag artist, and I'm here because I have decreed myself the new President of Comedy. That's right, I hold that title now. Please clap. So before Mr. Bircham and the new norm and other conservative ventures into trying really hard to be funny, there was, well, is, the Babylon Bee. If you've been living in a fallout shelter since 2016, which I actually totally understand, the Babylon Bee is a satirical news site that's basically trying to be the conservative version of The Onion or The Hard Times and all of their other sister sites. And as I've explored in so many other videos, conservatism and satire are at odds with each other because conservatism seeks to uphold certain institutions while satire aims to take those institutions down a peg. When they attempt to do satire anyway, you get painfully unfunny products like the Babylon Bee. The site is currently owned by Seth Dillon, a very fragile man whose face matches his opinions. Instead of trying to actually help produce quality content, he dutifully assumes the position of another victim of cancel culture every time Snopes is forced to investigate his site. Now, obviously, Snopes should not be investigating satirical sites because the whole point is that the news is fake. But the thing about satire, as I explored in my American Carol video, it has to be based in reality. And what happens when people who are afraid of fake news also spread fake news, then write fake news articles about fake news? You get painfully unfunny products, like the Babylon Bee. So Sethi and friends cried out to the world that Snopes was actively working against them to discredit and deplatform them and push their own agenda, whatever it was. So Snopes co-founder David Mickelson had this to say: "We don't have the means or the ability to do that," he told BuzzFeed News, adding that Snopes picks what to fact check based on reader emails. "We write about what the most people are asking about. The question you should be asking is not, why is Snopes addressing material from a particular site so often, but what is it about that site that makes its content trigger the fact-check threshold?" But despite being victims of such vicious attempts by the radical left to try and silence them, even though they never shut the fuck up, the Babylon Bee is still the second most visited conservative site after Fox News, and they have millions of followers on several different platforms. The site has a greatest hits category. They don't actually define what that means, so I assume it's the headlines and articles that receive the most attention and or praise, or maybe it's their personal favorites. Who knows? I don't care. Now, in all fairness, every so often, the Bee puts out a banger or two. I was actually pretty disappointed that their greatest hits didn't include my favorite headline I've ever seen from them, which was Kanye incinerated by a Jewish space laser. Unfortunately, these W's are rare. The overwhelming majority of them are the same brain-dead shit you see on Elon's Twitter, but framed as joke headlines, which a lot of them fail to do on that front as well. There are already countless videos about why the Bee sucks, and I wouldn't be adding anything to the conversation by making a comprehensive review about it. But since you guys seem to love my ranking videos, and because I'm a shameless masochist, I decided to rank the first 4 pages of the Babylon Bee's greatest hits, whatever that means. But before we suffer together, if you are a fan of watching a very tired drag queen talk about nerd shit forever, I ask that you please buy your favorite website and live out your dreams of saying whatever the hell you want with zero consequences. But when the woke mob inevitably comes to cancel you and take away all that hard work that you never actually put in, silence them back by going ahead and unzipping your pants and dick slapping those like and subscribe buttons as hard as you can. Now, to be clear, I want it to be as fair in my judgment as possible, which means I won't be grading based on my own standards as the president of comedy, but rather Babylon Bee standards, which means I will be grading on a curve. And not to worry, nothing landed above an A. Okay, first up we have this one. Senate to be replaced with room full of monkeys throwing feces. I mean, It's accurate, I'll give him that. Congress being an absolute dick fuck catastrophe is a nonpartisan issue that affects everyone. Is it particularly original? Not at all. And unlike a lot of the people who write for this site, just because I agree with it doesn't mean I find it that funny. But again, we're going on Babylon Bee standards here, so I'll give this one a B. Why not? Next up, because we all saw this one coming, CDC. People with dirt on Clintons have 843% greater risk of suicide. So this is the first of many Hillary Clinton headlines, and it's like, okay, sure, go ahead and make fun of the Clintons. They have every right to be criticized and made fun of. But this isn't just the first of many Clinton jokes, it's the first of the same Clinton joke that you'll see throughout the video. Also, this article came out in November 2017, a year after Hillary lost the election, so the relevance isn't really there either. Not the worst, but definitely still bad, so I'll give this one a D. Here's a quiz, apparently. Answer these 3 simple questions and we'll assign you a perfect life verse. Alright, I'll bite. Did you pray today? I am now. What spiritual gift do you have? I mean, the funniest answer for sure is the interpreting the tongues guy, but the one I'd like to have the most is teleportation, probably. What is your favorite color? Red, duh. Your life verse is Judges 19:29, and when he was come into his house, he took a knife and laid hold on his concubine and divided her together with her bones into 12 pieces, and sent her into all the coasts of Israel. Take this verse and keep it close to your heart. Consider having it engraved on a bracelet or tattooed on your body. Hallelujah. I don't know. The spiritual gifts question was kind of funny. I do give them points for poking fun at part of their audience's demographic, but it just wasn't really that funny. Get it? Because the Bible is actually barbaric and people cherry pick it, you know? Okay, sure. Thanks for the hot take, Bill Maher. Moving on. I'm giving this a C. Next up, FBI hires top-rated Italian bodyguard Hiluigi Clintonelli to protect Ghislaine Maxwell. Like I said earlier, it's the same joke. Don't worry though, this won't be the last time we hear it today. Now, it is true that Bill Clinton was homies with Epstein, which is obviously horrifying. But considering all the headlines we'll see later where they call Trump a genius, they pretend that they're joking, we all know that they're not. Let's see if they say anything about the fact that Trump literally just flew one of Epstein's old planes to a rally in Minnesota. I won't be holding my breath. And I like being asphyxiated. Anyway, another low effort entry from the B here. I'm gonna give this a D. Here's one that maybe you guys can explain to me. NBA players wear special lace collars to honor Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Am I missing something here? Are these people and events connected in some way that I'm not aware of? Is this a reference to something I didn't hear about? You know what they say, if you have to explain the joke, you failed at telling it. As far as I know, this doesn't seem particularly detestable, but I also don't get it, so I'm giving this one a D. Next up, Democrats warn that American people may tamper with next election. All they had to do was replace Democrats with Republicans and the joke would actually make sense. Republicans were the ones actively and openly and shamelessly trying to restrict voter rights. But God forbid they publish anything that might make Daddy upset. And even if they did say Republicans, it's still just not that original. Jesus, there's more D here than the RNC. Here's the first, and certainly not last, of the many Trump dick writing headlines. Ingenious move, Trump supports impeachment, forcing Democrats to oppose. Again, they're pretending calling him a genius is made in jest, but it obviously isn't. To their credit though, Trump doing this would actually be in character for him. To me, it seems to parody the idea that he's just continuously failed upwards with everything he does, and Democrats have to oppose him no matter what. But I also consider the source and the motive. Normally I might give this one a B, but with all the dick writing we're going to be seeing today, I'm going to give this one a high C. Here's an interesting one. Portland police. We wish there were some kind of organized armed force that could fight back against Antifa. So they have a lot of headlines about the Antifa boogeyman that they love to pretend is an actual problem. So that did knock this down a grade for me, but one big factor in grading these was remembering who the butt of the joke is. Whether or not they're punching down on marginalized people or if they're knocking the systems in place down a peg. And to me, the butt of the joke here is the failure of the police, not Antifa. So this one gets a B. Next up, Jussie Smollett offered job at CNN after fabricating news story out of thin air. So this is in reference to the hate crime hoax that actor Jussie Smollett staged a few years ago, where he hired two men to attack him and yell, "This is MAGA country," and scream racist and homophobic slurs at him. And listen, this was gross because by doing this, he has invalidated the victims of actual hate crimes. I don't know how he thought he'd be able to get away with this in 2019. So the B is totally valid in their criticism of him, but the joke here is, he should get a job at CNN because he lies so much. CNN, it's just lies all the time. Old, unoriginal, hacky. This one gets a C. Here's an eye roller for you. Ocasio-Cortez appears on The Price is Right, guesses everything is free. Get it? Because people on the left think everything should be free, like healthcare and education, and AOC is on the left, so she thinks everything should be free. Get it? This one is lame for obvious reasons. Normally I'd give this a D, but I will give it a low C just because it actually followed some kind of joke structure. They did it! This is another headline with the same joke we looked at earlier. CNN publishes real news story for April Fool's Day.
Not funny anymore, try different jokes.
No fucking shit, dude. Journalism everywhere is dead. This is well-trodden ground. And a simple Google search would show you all the things that Rupert Murdoch has made up over the past 1,000 years or however the fuck long he's been alive. But listen, I know your writers are working their way up to that prized Fox News internship, so it's fine if they lie, right? Another D for the D pile. Next up, Cracker Jack changes name to more politically correct Caucasian Jack. Once again, the B is on the cutting edge of comedy, skewering topics that nobody else has the balls to, like political correctness. What's next? Caucasian barrel? Crazy times we live in. Whatever. This gets a C. Moving on. Democrats hiss in terror as ACB pulls out crucifix. First off, I genuinely would not have known what ACB stood for had they not put this picture of Amy Coney Barrett here. See what Trump could have to work with if he just made fun of his own party sometimes? Not gonna lie, ever since Meatball Ron, his nicknaming ability has gone downhill. I mean, it's hard to top a classic like that. Well, anyway, I guess the only funny part of this is that it's categorized under Christian living. But like, have these idiots forgotten that the current president is literally a devout Catholic? Like, this isn't offensive. It just doesn't make sense. It's not based in reality. Another D-list entry for the B here. Next up, oh, for Christ's sakes. Kim Jong-un attends Ivy League University to learn new brainwashing techniques. Get it? Because college campuses are brainwashing students into thinking for themselves and learning basic life skills. I mean, what is this, North Korea? This one is straight from the American Carol playbook. Remember, kids, a well-educated public is the ultimate enemy of fascism. Attempts at book burning and defunding education is all part of their plan. And as much as I hate this one, it's still somehow not the worst we'll see today. So this gets a low D. D's get degrees, am I right? Get it? Because it's college. Speaking of the worst, Georgia lawmaker claims Chick-fil-A employee told her to go back to her country, later clarifies he actually said, "My pleasure." So in addition to the fact that the writer clearly went to the Donald Trump school of trying to reach the word count minimum, this one just doesn't make any sense. Like, if I had to guess, they seem to be implying that people of color are lying about the discrimination they face, which is already super gross. But honestly, the most offensive part of this is how fucking wordy this headline is. One of the first and most important things you learn in comedy is how to be as succinct as possible when telling a joke. So even though the Bee was just trying to do comedy the way Daddy taught them to, holy shit, this was painful. And as the president of comedy, I present you with our inaugural F ranking. Congrats! But as they say, when one door closes, another makes an actual kind of decent joke. Inspiring. Celebrities spell out we're all in this together with their yachts. This is clearly in reference to Gal Gadot's Imagine thing from the beginning of the pandemic, which the entire world just skewered into oblivion. I think people were a little overly harsh, but considering how terrified and frustrated everyone was at that time, they were righteously angry at the idea that all these multimillionaires and billionaires could experience the lockdown from the comfort of their mansions, while millions of other people suffered immeasurably. I think her heart was in the right place, but man was it tone deaf. And this headline is actually pretty funny because it's parodying something that actually happened. And with that, we've got our very first A ranking here. Jesus, this is an emotional roller coaster. Moving on to this one. Trump, I have done more for Christianity than Jesus. Wait, this isn't real? I could have sworn I've heard him say something like that at some point. So after doing some research, apparently Snopes had to prove that this article was fake because so many people thought that it was real. Again, I'll give points to the accuracy because this is totally something he would say. But on the other hand, where's the joke? Is there a setup and punchline here that my tiny little leftist brain can't see? Or is this just the writer's barely disguised opinion? I'll give this one a C, I guess. So this is also the first in a series of them making the same joke over and over again. Celebrities show solidarity with protesters by burning their own homes to the ground. So in addition to this idea being not based in reality, like at all, as you can see here, this article was posted on June 5th, 2020, which was during the height of the George Floyd protests. Oh, why is it okay if you guys do it and not us? My good bitch, please, listen, child. These riots were a result of righteous anger over police brutality and I know you guys love to be like, I don't see color, the systemic racism that comes with it. January 6th was people upset with the results of a fair democratic election, so they killed 5, count 'em, 5 cops. You know, something George Floyd didn't do. Sorry to disappoint, Bee. I know you just love making jokes about this, but to normal society, this is fucking vile, so into the F pile you go. Bye. Here's another where most of the comedy comes from the Christian Living tag. Husband daycare now available at all Hobby Lobby locations. Now, I don't actually think that this headline is bad. It actually kind of reminds me of this really funny sketch I saw on Instagram a while back about a special straight boyfriend play area at Pride parades, which was in response to all the Twitter warriors complaining about the dreaded bi girls at Pride with their straight boyfriends. But when I continued reading the article, yes, I actually did that for some of them, it just evolved into my wife, right? Jokes, which is just so dated. So because of that, this gets a C. Next up, one of the better ones we'll see. Immediately after moving to Texas, Elon Musk announces Tesla AR-15. Yeah, this is totally something he would do. Mostly because he's just desperate for anybody to like him, but it is still somewhat based in reality. I didn't find it that funny, but in all fairness, I'll give this one a B. I know what you're thinking. Francis, we've suffered through so many of these, but how on God's green earth does the Bee's greatest hits not include the classic I identify as an attack helicopter joke? Well, don't get your balls in a bind, because we got one right here. Motorcyclist who identifies as bicyclist sets cycling world record. I don't have to explain how stupid this is, because this joke is a zillion years old, and it's been told a zillion times, and it's been criticized another zillions of times. Low-hanging fruit, even for the Bee. Into the F pile you go. Speaking of stupid, caravan of liberal Americans makes way towards socialist paradise of Venezuela. First off, I am literally begging conservatives to learn the difference between liberalism and socialism. I know, whoa, learning is scary, oogity boogity oogity boogity. But I already feel like this video is gonna be long, so I don't need to explain something to you that's easily Googleable. TLDR, Venezuela's crumbling economy was not the direct result of socialism. It was the fluctuating cost of petroleum and Hugo Chavez being a real prick. But I know that's not helpful to your narrative, even though you don't really have one. This headline isn't the worst, but it still gets a D, as in devoid of all humor. Here's a bit of a palate cleanser. Trump announces he has hidden 5 golden tickets among stimulus checks. It's silly, it's lighthearted, still rides Daddy Trump's dick a little too hard, but it's kind of amusing at the very least. It ain't hurting nobody, so I'll give this one a B. Next up, in bold anti-Trump statement, Pelosi rips up Bible. So I don't really get the point they're trying to make here, but they might be cooking with something here. I'm pretty sure this was in reference to that bizarre photo op that Trump got during the George Floyd protests, where he held up a Bible in his classic "Mom said it's my turn on the Xbox" stance. Is it a whatever Trump does, I'll do the opposite kind of thing here? I'm not sure. But I'm also all for criticizing Nancy Pelosi's legitimate shortcomings, if they ever decide to do that. So I'll give this a low C, I guess? Here's an extra stupid one. Twitter shuts down entire network to slow spread of negative Biden news. Dude, even before elongated muskrat drove that site into an abandoned emerald mine, this just never happened. If any of you guys can give me an example and proof of this happening in October of 2020, I will mail you a fresh-baked cookie, and that is a promise. Again, just another graduate of the American Carroll School of just making shit up. I'm already so tired, and I'm gonna give this an F because I'm petty. Continuing our emotional roller coaster into the wonderful world of the B's greatest hits. Report: internet users who call for attacking other countries will now be enlisted in the military automatically. I actually do like this one because the butt of the joke is people tweeting this shit from the comfort of their own homes, most of whom could probably never hack it in the military. It's not punching down on victims, it's taking a stab at the people who would likely develop a victim complex if they were actually enlisted in an organization that they just love to wear their yellow ribbons for. As someone who grew up during the Iraq War, this gets a high B. Speaking of things I remember from the early 2000s, Florida recount finally wraps up. Al Gore declared president. Another one that's harmless. It's kind of amusing. It's just not that funny. Like, if you are under the age of 30, you will not get this joke. The only reason I did is because I grew up in a very political household, which most people didn't and still don't. Meh. This gets a C. I am 99% sure Matt Walsh wrote this next one. Wife unaware that movie will just answer all her questions if she just pays attention. Women be talking. Am I right, fellas? I can't show my wife any of the movies I like because everything just like goes over her head. Why can't chicks see what a fucking genius Kevin Smith is? Spoiler alert, he's not. Kevin Smith simps, come at me.
Do your worst. I can take whatever you can dish out.
You know what, while we're at it, let's get even naughtier. I think Tusk is Kevin Smith's best movie. Yeah, I said it. Try and cancel me now, woke moralists.
I just sure hope you don't use those whips over there on the wall.
Anyway, this one gets a D. Speaking of those silly ladies and their shenanigans, Hillary Clinton accidentally posts condolences for Tulsi Gabbard's died one day early.
Not funny anymore, try different jokes.
I could see how the Hillary posting something one day early part could work, because that's totally something she would do. But again, with the Clintons conspiracy jokes, do you guys really have nothing else? As the president of comedy, allow me to provide some constructive criticism. What about something like Hillary accidentally posts Sanders' concession speech one day early, or something like that based in reality? But for some reason, you guys just cling to the same shit over and over again, and it's just This one gets a D, as in Democrats are so easy to make fun of and you guys still can't do it properly. This next one is a slightly better attempt at that. Biden. I am the only candidate who can beat Ronald Reagan. Maybe it's because I'm reading this 2020 article in the year 2024, but this is just so stale. Like, we get it, dude. Biden's old as sin. So is Donald Trump. This one gets a C, I guess. Next up, a decent one. Trump cancels 2020 election over coronavirus concerns. That is in character for him. That's something he totally would have done, and I'm surprised he's not using that excuse to get out of his debate with Harris. But that's the difference between the B's articles that satirize Trump versus when they try to satirize Democrats. A lot of the jokes about Trump are funny because they are on brand for him, and they make sense. But they won't take a single finger out of their asses to do any kind of research on Democratic policies for any of their jokes about them to be based in reality. Because they know they don't have to. Because their target audience's brains are incapable of going past Democrats bad. And that's how they get away with churning out lowest common denominator content. That said, I'll still give this headline a B. Moving on. Bernie Sanders praises China for eradicating poverty by killing all the poor people. Again with these wordy ass headlines. B writers, please don't quit your day jobs. Or do. I don't know if this is your day job or not. If you're getting paid for this, then yikes. But not only that, again, they're just making shit up. Sanders is one of the only Democratic candidates we've had in a long time who genuinely wanted to help poor and middle class families. But I know, socialism, oogity boogity, oogity boogity, oogity boogity. This headline reads like you listened to a Dead Kennedys album, heard a bunch of words next to each other, and not only retained none of the information, but concluded the complete opposite. Maybe that's why the punk scene today is plagued with boomers being like, conservatism is the real punk. Please, Persona 3 yourselves. This gets an F. Next up, one of my actual favorites. Joel Osteen tests negative for Christianity. This is how you write a good headline. It's short, to the point, doesn't punch down. Joel Osteen is a piece of shit, not a real Christian, and deserves mockery. But this is also so frustrating for me because, like, clearly you guys are capable of writing funnier shit, you just refuse to. Well, even a broken clock is right twice a day, and I'm gonna give this one an A. Good job, y'all. Here's the first of 2 articles we'll see with the same picture. Walmart discontinues auto parts sales to prevent car accidents. You know, to prevent all those cases of people driving their cars into schools and killing dozens of children and teachers with their cars intentionally, because that's the real problem in this country. Normally I'd give this a D, but I will give it points for having somewhat of a joke structure, so this gets a low C. Next in our masterclass of hacky eye rollers, Biden cuts hole in mask so he can still sniff people's hair. Since I do like to critique both sides, I'll just say this. The Biden hair sniffing jokes from conservatives are as unoriginal as the Cheeto-in-Chief jokes from liberals. Please guys, stop fighting. You're both painfully unfunny. This is exhausting. I'm giving this one a D. Next up, Ilhan Omar withdraws support from bill to save Earth after learning that's where Israel is. So this headline kind of reminds me of this scene from The Producers, except not funny.
You're German. All Germans. That's right. That means we cannot attack Germany. I mean, I got all my friends here, you know?
So what's the difference here? Once again, it's the butt of the joke. Mocking Hitler and Nazis? Very funny. Mocking a woman speaking out against a literal genocide? Not really funny at all, in my opinion. Yet another low D for the D pile. Here's another mind-bogglingly stupid one. Bernie Sanders arrives in Hong Kong to lecture protesters on how good they have it under communism. Listen, B, I know your definition of communism is the same as my Arizonan brother-in-law's when he had to put on a mask to go to Walmart. I don't have the time or energy to tell you something that's easily Googleable, but can we at least work on joke structure here? Without even changing the stupid fucking concept, I, the president of comedy, will help reword this 17-word headline for you. How about Sanders to Hong Kong protesters, you don't know how good you have it. It's very hard to rewrite a joke that doesn't make any sense, so I can see why you guys failed at it. Anyway, another F for the F pile. Next up, government accidentally shuts itself down with ban on non-essential essential businesses, you just know that whoever wrote this smiled to themselves and was like, I've won. Like they really thought they ate with this one. Cause get it? Cause the government is non-essential. Even though you guys are openly simping for people trying to usher in a new era of fascism. Fucking pick one. How many more of these do I have left? Do I want to know? Whatever. This gets a D. Here's another Walmart themed one. Walmart now requires all shoppers to wear pants. This one is okay, I guess, as far as like the mask requirement jokes go. Anyone else remember that site, People of Walmart? You know, the one that my parents and their friends would send back and forth to each other with their Earthlink email addresses in 2005? The person who wrote this article sure does. Again, it's a pretty harmless joke. It's just not that original. So I'm giving this a C. This headline is pretty wordy, but the joke itself is actually funny. New version of Operation just has players use essential oils instead of performing a medical procedure. This actually might be my favorite headline out of the bunch because it's real. There are millions of people who actually think essential oils can cure everything from cancer to autism, even though the latter isn't supposed to have a cure, and anyone who thinks it does is disgusting. But again, they need to tighten their flow here. Not to fear, the president of comedy is here to help. What about new version of Operation features essential oils in lieu of real medical procedures? Easy peasy Waluigi. This headline did make me breathe out my nose a bit more forcefully than usual though, so I'll give this one an A. Good job. Unfortunately, this was followed by more word salad. Genius Trump nominates Joe Biden to Supreme Court, forcing Dems to accuse him of sexual assault. Now, normally I am not one to correct someone's grammar unless I'm in like a really petty mood, but good God, a comma somewhere in here would have really come in clutch. Also, who is him, Trump or Biden? The sentence structure here is just really confusing. There's more genius dick writing thrown in here, and this is just a fail on all fronts, which means this gets an F for fucking Christ. Please work on your fucking joke structure. Another spectacular failure here. Man identifying as 6-year-old crushes game-winning homer in T-ball championship.
Not funny anymore. Try different jokes.
Again, I don't have to explain why this sucks, but please, B, if I could ask you something, and please just try and find one line in your dolphin smooth brains for this one. Do you really think that people risk lifelong discrimination, potentially dangerous surgeries, and constantly having to hear your loud, confidently wrong opinions just so they can, like, win a swim tournament? Because if you do, you're profoundly stupid. Just like this headline, which gets an F. Speaking of Fs, Fisher-Price releases My First Peaceful Protest playset with house you can actually burn down. Of course, they had to include the BLM graffiti because they could never actually say what BLM stands for out loud, because then they'll sound like bigoted assholes, which they are, and they know they are. Same way that they can't say that DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yeah, this is fucking vile, and this goes into the F pile as well. On the milder side, Lego introduces new sharper bricks that instantly kill you when you step on them. I mean, okay? Not bad, just again, really stale. The relatability of stepping on Legos has been part of the cultural zeitgeist since 2012, and this is well trodden ground, even for 2018 when this article was published. Whatever. I'll give this a C. Here's another protest boogeyman headline. Powerful. Protesters spell out love with burning homes and businesses.
Not funny anymore. Try different jokes.
Whatever I have to say about this, I'll just be repeating myself. Something the B should try not doing someday. Gross. This one also gets an F for find new jokes for the love of all that is holy. Jesus, y'all just can't catch a break with all these L's. Bibles pulled from shelves for outdated idea that all humans are of one race and made in the image of God. The most offensive part of this isn't even the brain-dead Rob Schneider argument of there's one race, the human race. It's just so goddamn wordy. And I, the president of comedy, refuse to provide any more constructive criticism. You guys are on your own. Toss your own word salad. F for the F pile. This is so painful. Okay, we are finally on our last headline. Miracle. Passes over houses with Chick-fil-A sauce smeared on doorposts. So I made a similar Passover COVID joke at the time, and it must not have been that funny because I can't even remember it off the top of my head. But what the fuck does Chick-fil-A have to do with this? Am I missing something that my puny little leftist brain just cannot comprehend the sheer genius of? Whatever. I'll give this a C. Hey good bitches, Editing Francis here. Sorry if my voice is a little blown out. Mitchell and I were watching Tommy last night and we got a bit too excited. So at one point this week, while I was editing this video, I visited the Babylon Bee Facebook page out of curiosity and looked at their posts just from the past week. And yeah, there are plenty that are stupid and not based in reality, but believe it or not, there were actually a surprising amount of them that were real bangers. Like, they didn't ride Trump's dick too hard, they didn't punch down, they weren't bigoted, and I kind of wanted to include the ones I found particularly funny because I think it proves a greater point. Just to be clear, I still hate the Bee overall. They still post plenty of gross, stupid shit like these ones here, and I have no hang-ups about making this video, but it seems that there's a clear difference in quality between what's been posted on Facebook in just the past week compared to all these quote-unquote greatest hits posted in the last several years. Because I assume that their greatest hits are determined by audience popularity, and the headlines we looked at earlier really are a testament to what their target audience finds the most funny. Like, they like the low-hanging fruit, they like punching down on anything they don't like, and they don't like real satire. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on this really quick. As I said before, I like being fair and giving credit where it's due, and the headlines from the rest of the video just seem to really speak volumes as to what their core audience finds funny, and I just found that kind of interesting. That's all. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Anyway, thanks for suffering with me yet again. I don't really have any more to say about any of this shit, but if I may, I would like to ask something of all of you. I am long overdue for reviewing a terrible movie on here, but I am simply stumped as to what that movie might be. So, if you happen to know of a terrible film, any terrible film, that you would like to see me roast, please be a good bitch and comment it down below, or DM me elsewhere, whatever flips your flapjack. But in the meantime, do you want to know what flips my flapjack? The winning comments from the last video. God, I love this username. Benadryl Thundercrotch 7144 says, Shelley should get a Lifetime Achievement Award just for the way she held a cigarette. True. Jojo De La Croix says, why is no one asking why this drag queen is always so tired? We need to get this queen a CPAP machine or something. If you join my Patreon, you might be able to help me buy one. Just saying. And finally, Andrew Corey Cube says, once they figure out time travel, I'm going to enact humorous and cruelly ironic pranks on Stanley Kubrick, such as blocking his trailer door shut with an obsidian obelisk. I don't know why I laughed so hard at that. You too could be featured in the next video. Leave a comment below. I will pick my favorite ones and give you a shout out next time. If you would like to guarantee your name being mentioned at the end of every video, please consider joining my Patreon. You're welcome to join for free, but if you join any of the membership tiers that are conveniently named after Fallout protagonists, your name will be featured at the end of every video. You might also get access to other cool shit like wig sneak peeks, no context video spoilers, community chats in my secret box. So if you love my videos and my drag, you can support this channel directly by clicking the link to my Patreon in the description box. If you would like to see me simp for my favorite game characters and get visibly frustrated in real time, please follow me and my beautiful co-producer Mitchell on Twitch. I stream most Sunday afternoons Pacific Standard Time, and we are still raising money for the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. If you would like to see even more of my clown mug elsewhere, please consider following me on Instagram or TikTok. My handle for all of the above is @QueenCokeFrancis. QueenCokeFrancis. If you enjoyed this video and you haven't done so already, please buy your favorite website and live out your dream of saying whatever the hell you want with zero consequences. But when the woke mob inevitably comes to cancel you and take away all your hard work that you never actually put in, silence them back by going ahead and unzipping your pants and dick slapping those like and subscribe buttons as hard as you can. Thank you again to everyone who's been helping this channel grow and thrive the way that it has been, and of course, as always, until next time,